Charlie Kirk was one of the most polarising yet influential conservative activists of the 21st century. Rising to national prominence without a college degree, Kirk carved out a path as a dynamic force in American right-wing politics, especially among young people.
You can get wisdom at a younger age if you study things that are wise, that fear the Lord. The beginning of God is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Yet they're learning garbage. They are learning books that are opposed to Christianity, opposed to the natural law, opposed to systems that work, opposed to the good, the true, and the beautiful.
As the founder of Turning Point USA, he tapped into growing concerns about liberal dominance on college campuses, free speech, identity politics, and the role of the government in American life. His sharp rhetoric, bold media presence, and loyalty to Donald Trump earned him a place at the forefront of the conservative movement.
I always laughed when Kamala Harris was, running for president. It's like, oh, this country's racist and bigoted. Why do you want to be vice president? It sounds like a terrible place. Sounds like a hellscape. And so, yes, I have this, one of my places of hope is I think the way that God has wired us is there's a yearning in your soul to actually like the place you're from. And what we've done is we've told young people to hate the place they're from. I think there can be an explosion of patriotism because within our DNA, within our natural being, is this yearning to love what you know. And yet they've been told to hate the flag and hate the customs and hate the history and hate the tradition.
However, his career was also marred by recurring controversy, including allegations of misinformation, political manipulation, and incitement.
Now, let me ask you a question. How many unarmed black people, on average, are killed by police a year?
Well, I'd have to look up that statistic.
Guess.
Probably over 50%.
Yeah, it's 15 people a year. 15. And that's not my number. That's the Washington Post that came up with it and did a national crime survey. And they even were generous and they said unarmed, meaning you had a weapon nearby or you had a knife that you dropped. So you're talking about police brutality for an incident that happens 15 times a year in a country of 350 million people.
Well, how come, my question to you then, how come you see it so often on
you don't.
social
because
media?
That's a good question, Andrew, because you're being propagandized. You're being brainwashed is the name of this tour.
His death under violent circumstances shocked political circles across the country and reignited debates about polarisation, campus safety, extremism, and the power of grassroots youth movements. In this episode of In Summary, we explore his early life, his ascent in conservative media, controversy surrounding Turning Point USA, his relationship with Donald Trump, the developments following his passing, and how his legacy is being shaped in the weeks since. Charles James Kirk was born on October 14th, 1993, in Illinois. Raised in Prospect Heights, a middle-class suburb in Chicago, Kirk grew up in an environment that blended Christian values with civic engagement. His father, Robert Kirk, worked as an architect on major projects including the Trump Tower in New York City, whilst his mother, Kimberly, was active in education and community service. Their household was politically moderate, but debates about news and society were common. From an early age, Kirk displayed curiosity about politics and a willingness to challenge authority. At Wheeling High School, he became known as outspoken and ambitious. His first notable activism came when he helped organise a student protest against cafeteria price hikes, gaining coverage from a local newspaper. But his breakthrough moment came during his senior year when he published an essay for Breitbart News. The piece criticised what he called left-wing bias in school textbooks, went viral and earned him an appearance on Fox Business. The exposure connected him with conservative leaders and introduced him to national politics before he turned 18. Kirk planned to attend Baylor University, but was rejected. Instead, he briefly enrolled at Harper College, a local community college, before leaving to pursue activism full-time. His decision was influenced by Bill Montgomery, a retired Tea Party activist who recognised Kirk's potential. Together, they launched Turning Point USA in 2012. At just 18, Kirk declared he was fighting for the soul of America's next generation.
We are about to go to war over a border dispute 5,000 miles away over a country no one cares about. How about we have the back of the nation that has had our back at every single one of our good wars and stupid wars the last 60 years? It's true. Whenever America wants to go invade a country, the Canadians are right there beside us. Anytime we want to go take out someone with special forces, the Canadians are right there beside us. I could be wrong, but I believe that the taking out of Osama bin Laden was a Canadian-U.S. led force. I believe there were a couple Canadians part of that. You do not want to mess with the Canadian special forces. At the very least, Republican governors who do business with Canada should sanction them and say, for right now, we're not going to do business until Canada stops abusing their citizens. Now, you might say, well, Charlie, that's meddling in the affairs of another country. Oh, yeah, we did that with South Africa.
Turning Point USA began as a small operation headquartered near Chicago with a modest budget. Its stated mission was to promote free market economics, limited government, and conservative values on college campuses. What set Turning Point USA apart was its style, irreverent, viral, and confrontational, with slogans like "Big Government Sucks" and memes designed for social media. Kirk quickly adapted activism for a generation raised online. By the mid-2010s, Turning Point USA had become a multi-million-dollar organisation with hundreds of chapters across high schools and universities. Its annual Student Action Summit in Florida attracted thousands of attendees and featured Republican heavyweights like Ted Cruz, Donald Trump Jr., and Tucker Carlson. Kirk became the face of Turning Point USA, travelling constantly, giving speeches, and hosting events. His ability to connect with conservative donors gave Turning Point USA financial muscle. Critics accused the group of astroturfing, manufacturing a youth movement funded by big money, but Kirk dismissed the criticism as envy. Kirk's rise coincided with the explosion of podcasts and conservative online media. In 2019, he launched The Charlie Kirk Show, a podcast and radio program that climbed into the top charts for politics. He used the platform to attract progressive policies, defend Donald Trump, and weigh in on cultural flashpoints. His appearance on Fox News and Newsmax cemented his role as a young star on the right. His communication style was sharp, emotional, and often provocative. He frequently clashed with liberal students on campuses, sometimes staging confrontations that later went viral on YouTube and TikTok. Issues like transgender rights, affirmative action, immigration, and cancel culture dominated his rhetoric. While supporters saw him as a bold truth-teller, unafraid of political correctness, critics accused him of fueling division and exaggerating threats. Kirk's career was marked by repeated controversies. In 2020, Facebook shut down a network of fake accounts tied to Rally Forge, a firm working for Turning Point Action. These accounts, some operated by teenagers, were allegedly used to spread pro-Trump talking points disguised as authentic grassroots voices. Although Kirk denied direct involvement, the scandal raised questions about Turning Point USA's tactics. He was also criticised for spreading misinformation, particularly about the 2020 election and COVID-19. He claimed that mail-in ballots were fraudulent, promoted unproven treatments, and questioned vaccine safety. Fact-checkers debunked his claims, but Kirk argued that mainstream media was biased against conservatives. Internal issues also dogged Turning Point USA. Former employees alleged racial discrimination, poor management, and toxic workplace culture. Leaked recordings suggested internal tensions over finances and direction. Kirk largely brushed over the criticism, insisting the organisation was thriving. Despite those controversies, Turning Point USA grew. By 2023, it claimed chapters on over 1,000 campuses and an annual budget exceeding $50 million. For many young conservatives, Kirk became the gateway into politics. For his detractors, he symbolised the dangers of populism and disinformation. Perhaps the most defining aspect of Kirk's career was his alliance with Donald Trump. Initially skeptical in 2016, Kirk quickly embraced Trump after his election, calling him the greatest president of our lifetime. Through Turning Point USA and Students for Trump, Kirk mobilized thousands of young voters for Trump's re-election campaign in 2020. Kirk forged close ties with Trump's inner circle, especially Donald Trump Jr., who spoke regularly at Turning Point USA events. Trump praised Kirk at rallies and in public statements, elevating his profile. In turn, Kirk defended Trump fiercely, amplifying claims that the 2020 election was stolen. As Trump prepared for a political comeback in 2024 and 2025, Kirk remained one of his staunchest allies, framing Trumpism as both political and cultural. On September the 10th, Kirk was fatally shot during an event at Utah Valley University. The assailant, 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson, was arrested and charged with aggravated murder and multiple related crimes. Investigators revealed a note linking Robinson to the act. Prosecutors have indicated they'll be pursuing the death penalty. The attack shocked the nation. Within hours, tributes poured out from conservative leaders. Donald Trump ordered flags at half-staff and called Kirk great and legendary.
With a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. And somebody that was very close to him said, that's him. And essentially went to the father, went to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic, by the way. And the person was involved with law enforcement, but was a person of faith, a minister, and brought him to a U.S. Marshal who was fantastic. And the father convinced the son, this is it.
Memorials were organised nationwide, and Turning Point USA announced the creation of the Charlie Kirk Fellowship to train future conservative activists.
I'm still shaking, and I'm still crying. I love Charlie Kirk. He's awesome. And I pray for him and his family. And I pray for everybody that was here to witness this. It's awful, and I don't understand why we can't have something like this that is truly innocent. You know, there were the non-believers, the ones that didn't like him, and that's fine. But to shoot him, he doesn't deserve this.
Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, a former pageant contestant and conservative commentator, was unanimously appointed CEO and chair of Turning Point USA. She pledged to continue her husband's mission and launched the Turning Point Tour, renamed from Kirk's America Comeback Tour. On September the 21st, more than 90,000 people gathered in Glendale, Arizona for a memorial service, with millions watching online. Prominent pastors, politicians and activists delivered speeches framing Kirk as a martyr. The event blended patriotism with Christian nationalism, underscoring the cultural forces Kirk embodied. Turning Point USA reported a surge of over 60,000 new student sign-ups in the days after his death. For supporters, it was proof that his influence could outlive him. Critics, however, warned that framing him as a martyr risked further radicalising conservative youth. Kirk's death reignited debates about political violence. Commentators noted that attacks on public figures, from members of Congress to activists, were becoming alarmingly frequent. Universities began reviewing security policies for political events. At the same time, Republican leaders pushed to penalise those who celebrated Kirk's death online. Proposals to regulate social media speech raised alarms from civil liberty groups, who argued that free expression was being threatened. The controversy highlighted the tensions between free speech and safety in a polarised era. Charlie Kirk's legacy is deeply contested. Supporters see him as a visionary who gave young conservatives a platform, mainstreamed Christian values, and fought against progressive dominance in culture and education. What's undeniable is his influence. At just 31, Kirk built one of the largest youth political organizations in America, shaped debates on college campuses, and helped define Trump-era conservatism. His death has only magnified his profile, with Turning Point USA seeking to enshrine his name through fellowships, tours, and training programs. The long-term impact remains uncertain. Will his martyrdom energize a new wave of activism, or will his polarizing style fade as political culture shifts? For now, his story is a mirror of the broader American struggle, a society wrestling with identity, polarization, and the cost of political extremism. Charlie Kirk's life, career, and death encapsulate the turbulence of modern American politics. His violent death in 2025 cemented his place in history and forced the nation to confront questions about the direction of its political culture. Charlie Kirk shaped conversations about youth, ideology, and democracy in ways that will echo for years to come.